Historian, great YouTube channel. Check it out. They got videos on like the Tumblr convention and Coney 2012 and all that shit.
Nice, hell yeah.
It's great. But he did one called The Fall of 76, which is all about Fallout 76. And there's a section in there that's just like word for word what I said in the special editions about the special edition. But one story I didn't know, which I wish I did because I would have brought it up on the episode.
Yeah.
So they came out with this special edition Fallout rum for Fallout 76, and it was called Nuka Dark. It was rum. It was $85 a bottle, and you could pre-order it. And it was supposed to come out months before the game. So like August and then September, and then it got delayed to after the game, and I think it eventually came out in November. And if you look up pictures of it, it's like this really nice glass, like opaque black bottle that looks like a Nuka-Cola bottle, but huge. And then the stopper is like a bottle cap from Fallout. But people got it, and the bottle is made out of plastic instead of metal, and it's just a plastic shell around a regular-sized, regular-shaped, clear bottle of rum that just has a label slapped on it that just says Nuka Dark or whatever in like impact font, and that's it. And like people were just like cracking it open, and they put a bottle within a bottle, but if you try to pour it, sometimes it doesn't pour and gets into the plastic shell and shit like that.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought about. Why it's not draining into the plastic shell.
It's also apparently cheap ass like.
Yeah, and they just bought
It's
shitty
not
rum.
even Crystal Skull good.
That's vodka, dude.
I know, I just meant the quality of an insane person making alcohol.
Yeah.
It's brewed in like glacier. I forget.
What, Crystal Skull?
No, it's brewed in crystals.
Oh.
But it's brewed in crystals that have the souls of the dead in it, and then
obviously
they filter.
Absurdly is the not the first time Crystal Skull vodka has come up on this podcast.
Yeah, it's filtered through crystals that contain the souls of the dead. So every time they filter it, the souls of the dead get into your shot of vodka.
Dan Aykroyd's a crazy person.
That is sick, dude.
That's so cool.
That is sick.
He tried to kill Larry King with it.
Yeah, I saw that on the video.
Okay, welcome everybody. This is Hot Button, and today we are going to talk gentrification and class struggle as one of the world's most played online RPGs. Housing market became such a financial disaster for their company that the developers had no choice but to reassess how their entire in-game economy functioned to find a fix. Just so that players wouldn't get frustrated and abandon Square Enix's already relaunched multi-million-dollar project, Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. I'm Randall Beatrice, and I'm here as always with Austin Blakesley, Chris Anatuano.
What up, Frisbees? I'm trying it out.
And for the first time ever, professional Final Fantasy XIV expert and criminal, Chelsie Romano.
Hello, and you're welcome.
Wait, we're talking about gentrification and class struggle, and Jason is not in the room?
Also, I'm at the high class of this, which is new.
You're the
for
1%?
Yeah,
she's role-playing here.
That is the definition of role-playing. When a bunch of poor people fuck a different housing market.
It was the only house I could afford.
Thank you obviously so much for joining us, because diving into research for this crazy, and I'm not going to lie, hilarious nightmare, it just like we can read the struggles of those pleading for help.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
But it's not the same as having some real first-hand experience right in front of us. Not only that, but you are going to help us translate some of this mess, and after seeing your crazy person ramblings via spreadsheet, I'd say you're pretty well prepared to speak on the matter.
I had a lot of spreadsheets. They were beautiful. Very well organized.
Researching this was I have no idea.
I played Final Fantasy XIV. I was a sexy cat dude.
I was a sexy cat girl, and I was also a sexy human girl, and then I was like a derpy-looking human girl.
We were literally fighting about this. Like that's how much of a pain it was.
Oh yeah, I read his script and I was like, that's wrong.
The article that I grabbed it from phrased things weird.
Was it from IGN?
No, you took
was it?
words out.
Really?
No, it was not. It was
because I'm not trying to pull anything, but then when I was researching the Sega article, I was reading an IGN history of the Dreamcast. It was very bad.
Really?
Like I
maybe it's contracted out.
I considered emailing. It was that bad.
Wow.
Like taking action because it
was
like
still up there, huh?
Yeah, it was very poorly written. Not factually checked
a lot of the information I got for this was very helpful, but it was more of running this through some
Chelsie filter.
Just to clarify, I played every Final Fantasy except for this game.
Really?
Did you play 11?
What's that? That's the other
online
except
one.
for both online ones. Sorry.
To clarify, I've played one other Final Fantasy other than 14.
Dirge
and
of
it
Cerberus.
it was Lightning Returns.
Shut up!
I like Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah, it wasn't the bad.
I played it for
Type
2
Zero.
hours.
I went to play
2
Type Zero,
hours.
even though it looked awful.
I played the demo for Type Zero just
to
didn't
get
that, no,
Niskae's
no,
demo?
no, yeah, that's right. No, I
Yeah.
redboxed it so I could play the demo for Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
So I played this so much that my in-game time was more than 2 years.
How is that
You,
fucking...
yeah, you left your computer.
Yeah,
on.
I mean, that includes AFK time. I would also craft I had a lot of macros,
Oh, okay.
so I would
Just
craft
leave
things
this
and
running.
then tab out.
Don't
and
worry,
play
we'll
a
get into
different
that.
game. Yeah. Well, I had to make that money to buy those houses.
I also did not realize, till getting into this, by the way, that this problem seriously started to become so severe that if it persisted to the point of like a mass player exodus, it would directly affect the steady resources used to help fund the publisher's other titles.
Yes, because
So,
Square makes...
You could have been responsible for the delays of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Kingdom Hearts 3 may have never
Nobody
come
wanted
out.
those
How do you
anyway.
feel?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Suck it, Chelsea. Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, and it's great.
And you're like, so good.
Now,
I tried so hard.
Yeah.
I played the
I mean,
Frozen
they
level.
make-
They didn't get the right voice actors, and then I stopped.
They make
But
like
that's 'cause I ran out of
destabilizing
time.
a South American country for their oil money off of
Yeah.
this, dude.
Now, before we get into just how bad you and others like you fucked everyone, let's just give a little backstory on the game itself and the feature it later regretfully added.
Hot button hallmark. We're talking about virtual capitalism now instead of actual capitalism.
It's cyclical. It all
Yeah,
comes back
it
around.
is, yeah.
Hey, surprise, I'm gonna be just as angry.
Please don't punch
hope
me
so.
after this.
So as some people may or may not know, Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, I have to say that full title, is a massively multiplayer online RPG released in 2013, born from out of the ashes of its previously blundered 2010 launch when it was just known as Final Fantasy XIV. Which is a fascinating story in itself. For more on that, I definitely recommend checking out Danny O'Dwyer's No Clip documentary on the game.
It's really good.
I know we've plugged his show a few times, but
Well, it's because he's better at everything we do.
Yeah.
And
It's
better looking. He's got a cool
unsubscribe from this
accent.
He does have a
podcast
cool
and go
accent.
He gets to
subscribe to
travel
No
all
Clip.
over the place.
I want to point out I'm not a legacy. I didn't play those times.
No,
I
not many
played
people
after,
did.
Yeah.
I played 11.
I played on a legacy server where everyone had cool tattoos because they were
Really?
legacies.
Because they played it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You got a
But-
cool tattoo on your
But
character.
that documentary is really fantastic, and they go into some serious detail of just how we're able to bring that title back from the dead. But we're not here to talk about that. Instead, we're going to get into a specific feature that was introduced to the game during an update all the way back in 2011, even prior to that rebranding I mentioned. Producer Naoki Yoshida, is that right? Yoshi. Okay. He was adamant about
The dinosaur?
Yeah.
the very same.
Shit.
Wait, he was real?
Yeah. He works on Final Fantasy, dude.
So
He's real nice,
He
too.
was he was great
He
in
looks
that,
a lot
in that
different
clip.
in person.
I know, yeah.
He was very
Not green
adamant,
at all.
apparently, about fair land distribution when the content update first hit.
What do you mean by that?
So they gave users the ability to own in-game property. However, in the ensuing years, this started to lead to quite the issue when deep-pocketed players, most of them early adapters, then began to monopolize. This, of course, only grew worse after Realm Reborn's rise in popularity, especially on the bigger servers. So at this point, they're in our story, there's probably about 14 million concurrent players.
From the OG 14.
No, this is
this is from Reborn.
like where this like issue
Oh,
became.
okay.
Yeah. So Chelsea, around when did you start playing? You said you didn't play it when it was
And
just
that's
14.
$1
It
per
was-
subscription, right? So they only make 14 million on that.
What is the subscription
15.
for?
It's 15.
That's
Yeah.
absurd.
Well,
That
it
is
probably
absurd.
followed in like
Well,
the same way
if
as
you were a
Warcraft.
legacy, it was less. Like a
really?
few dollars
I actually
less.
didn't know that.
I think like 12. I think you like got grandfathered
Okay.
in.
All right.
But then there was
Cameron.
also things that you could pay for monthly that would raise your subscription.
With that kind of money, they're definitely cloning like slave kids to run the servers and stuff like that. Like
They're running
That
on
explains
hamster
why
wheels,
their
dude.
servers go down so
They're
fucking
specially-
much. Got 'em.
they're specially bred to like
should work hard.
resist the cold air
Maybe
conditioning.
they'd have
of the-
houses
the
in
server
14
room.
if they were
Just a bunch of deformed clone kids running on hamster wheels to power the servers.
So around when did you start playing? You know,
I don't
like a year.
I don't
maybe?
remember. So for all the people who play, this will make sense. I started playing when Brave Flux Hard was the current expert dungeon roulette. So
That's not helpful at all. I think you're going to see an expansion name.
It's not. No, well, I mean, I started playing way before Heaven's Ward, which was 3.0.
Isn't that new? I know that.
No, because it was a Realm Reborn, Heaven's Ward,
now there's
Stormblood, and now there's a new one.
It's like Angel Knight, Dark
It
Man.
comes out in like June, July.
Angel Knight, Dark Man.
It's on my Instagram.
They have one that comes out every 2 years.
It's like a Mad Libs.
It's pretty much how it's going.
Now, educate us, fine, Final Fantasy XIV virgins on just how exactly this process works in terms of like the property, like
buying a house.
Yeah, just like yeah.
Okay, so I remember
because once this was added, you said it was not really a feature that was so.
It was incredibly expensive.
I have a question. How does the open world map work? Is buying a house kind of like its own separate thing off the map?
You said the neighborhoods are like instance.
Or is there... Okay, so
when I played, there was only 3 main areas that had housing. They're up to 4 now to try to help with that, and he'll get into that,
I'm assuming in different parts of the map, but they have their own instance. Like, it's not like I can't just walk there on the map and walk into your neighborhood and
you can.
Yeah.
But it's okay. All right.
So for future reference in the story, I just want to say right now that guilds are called free companies.
FCs.
FCs.
I'll call them FCs.
Okay, and servers are referred to as worlds.
Worlds, yeah.
Okay. And how many worlds are there?
I have no fucking clue. I only played on 1.
A lot.
Really?
There are a lot.
There's got to be a lot. With 14 million players.
They did, but
I know at one point they couldn't do server merges because of the housing issue.
This came
the expert
up
who
later.
started Final Fantasy XIV like 4 times and only got to level 10, there are a decent amount of worlds that you can join.
Okay.
And I joined 4 different ones.
What server did you play on?
Hyperion.
Okay.
Which was a legacy.
That's
So
a
it was
Borderlands
a first class world.
Yeah.
That's a first class world.
Good reference, dude.
She's already fucking flaunting her.
The fact is housing was more expensive on the world I played on because it was a bigger population.
Okay.
So when I first started playing the FC I joined because my friends had started it, they had already bought a house.
They already had one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a medium, but I remember there being empty plots.
Yeah.
It was never a weird thing because it was just, and this was way before that you could have a personal home.
Okay.
So it was just you just walk around
only
and it'd just
guilds
be empty.
could?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
However,
okay.
So an FC needed like 3 members to be considered an FC, so people would
That's not a lot, actually.
No. So people would pay people to sign in and then back out so that one guy could have an FC and buy a house himself. So that's how you would get around.
Man, this was kind of dirty
housing.
off the bat.
Yeah.
All right, so like just to get into further detail of how like relative the venture is in relation to like the bigger economy. You said initially homes were like crazy expensive.
We looked it up.
We did look it up because they price dropped them over the incoming.
So after I think it was like every 6 hours or so, the price of a house that was not bought it would go down.
And there are different types of home featured as well as like rules as there are different sizes. There are 3.
3.
Yeah.
But some plots are more expensive just because they're nicer plots. Like it's closer to a marker.
But it is a small, medium, and large.
Is there a limit on the amount of plots per server?
It was.
So no, it's basically there are wards. And each ward has 30 plots.
Okay, so there could potentially be infinite wards.
Yeah, they could just, and that's what they did. They just keep adding and adding and adding.
So at this point, where we're gonna start, it was 1 house per character, but guilds could and were guilds restricted in the same way?
Yes.
Okay.
It was 1 house per FC, and when they let you buy personal houses, it was 1 house per character. But I've recently found out they changed that because you used to be able to make alts.
Yeah, then that's going to play a huge role into how this got very fucked.
Some people...
Don't jump the gun too much.
Why are you looking at me? It's you.
I don't want to be the bad guy.
So
I tell you, I had... How many gold was it? Or whatever the highest...
Gil?
Yeah.
Gil.
Gold.
I think when they started housing, it was like...
boomer for this situation.
I don't know. It was a ridiculous amount, like over 100 million.
Was it like 6, 7 coins? How many coins?
When I bought my first house, it was 5 million.
Check it. I had like 4,000 gil when I quit that game.
When I quit that game, I
that's
sent
legit.
you money.
Did you really?
I remember remember signing in for a free weekend when Austin started playing and just sending you like a couple $100K.
That's right, you did.
Because I was like chump change.
So, like apparently, as more and more people started to play the game after they turned it around with the Realm Reborn and the expansion started to get more and more popular, they would lower the price of the homes to encourage people to like participate.
Yeah, there was a lot of updates that brought the price down a lot.
Cinematic for Realm
Oh
Reborn?
yeah, it's beautiful. Not relative to.
I honestly thought it was the Smash Bros. Ultimate's intro was the same thing for a second. For a second, I
it's
thought
probably
it
made
was
by
the
the
same
people
thing.
that made the Old Republic one or something.
This will go back to the No Clip documentary, but like for real. Like, they fucked up with Final Fantasy XIV. Then when they did a Realm Reborn, like, the way they did it is actually very
really
cool.
Yeah.
Because it was like literally the Final Fantasy
some sort of
XIV world.
apocalypse,
Yeah, it was like
got
they
hit with an
wrote it into the
apocalypse.
narrative. Like,
And it's written into the narrative. And
They
the
called
starting
it the
cutscene.
Wild West.
Yeah, the started cutscene for Realm Reborn is the aftermath of the apocalypse from the last one. That's why it's so cool.
I thought that. That's very,
All right,
very cool.
So there's 14 million people playing. At this point, there are about 2,200 houses available for each of the game worlds, which on average host over twice that amount. That's how big,
I was gonna ask how many people do you think are per world?
Yeah,
do you think like 5,000, 10,000?
I guess.
Do you remember how many were on Hyperion? If you said
No, you don't know those numbers.
No,
I remember.
I know Warcraft will sometimes say
when expansions would come out, there was obviously a cap on the server, and sometimes you would be in line behind 800 people just to log in.
Just to log in? Okay, that's nuts. Now, from what I've read, they don't really appear to be... They're not like a vital necessity, but owning one means having your own private space to...
also, it's endgame.
Yeah,
it's the only true
I mean, we'll get
game
into like
Avengers.
We'll get into the benefits later because there are these like incentives.
I just meant because like you could be like, I have a house, motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
You just give the bad guy the time
it's the hardest thing in that game to get. Therefore, it is endgame.
And you can also apparently use it to invite new raiding friends, host parties, and of course,
brothels.
Decorate. I was gonna.
Yeah, there was a few on my server.
Well, I was gonna get into the Animal Crossing, like kind of nature
I was
of
gonna
it.
get into the fact that the reason why some people were able to buy so many houses were because of brothels.
All right, that's brilliant. I'm back.
Yeah, I found a thing that says Yoshi said each server is designed to handle up to 5,000 concurrent users at the same time.
So
the total number of accounts allowed would be much higher than that because not every character is logged in at the same time.
I said 5,000 to 10,000.
Yeah.
I got
but
it.
either way, that's way more than the 2,200 available
server I played
houses.
on, you could only actually make a new character at one point between like 3 a.m. and 6 a.m.
What?
Because there was
they
just
didn't
too
want
many
any more people
Yeah.
True, I joined that server and they wouldn't let me make a character on it at first. Yeah,
That's funny.
You had to wait until like no one was alive.
All right, so like for having your own place, you could to compare it to maybe something like The Sims. I don't know. You could customize the wallpaper, fill rooms with furniture and fur rugs. There were fucking hot tubs in it apparently.
Hell yeah, there were. I had a lot of
reinforcing
those
your brothel.
How else do you
I
have
didn't
a brothel?
have the brothel. I just knew they existed. I made my money the old-fashioned way.
all of
poor
this stuff, all
that
of
is
this
the old-fashioned way.
could cost several million gil, which is that general currency.
Not if you knew how to craft.
Could you get a subprime mortgage? Sorry, I only know about the real housing crisis, so I'll make a lot of jokes about that. What street was your house on? I want to know what the Occupy movement was called.
What's the Final Fantasy version of Chase Bank?
So players could go all out on showing off their shit.
The Lehman Judges.
Or at least some did. Others merely just wanted to have houses as a status symbol and not even use them.
Yeah.
Frustrating
real people too.
Frustrating those who weren't able to get a place for their own.
I was just thinking about that the other day. There's a house that I drive by on my commute to work that looks like it wants to be a mansion, okay? But it's not. Like, it has big pillars out front, but my house is longer than it.
Yeah.
But it's got these big pillars, and it made me think, like, I started thinking about mansions. Like, why?
Why? Nobody. My house has too many rooms. I'm trying to use all of them, and I don't live in anything that would be considered a mansion.
Singing about his mansion. He's like, I got 5 sets of stairs.
Yeah.
That's
why you hire people.
Yeah, but why do you need that much space?
I know. Nobody does.
Doing?
That's the thing.
It's absolutely a symbol of being like...
You need it to fit all the shit you buy with all the money that you can't use.
So at this point, like, homes are getting scooped up. And it's starting to become a little bit of an issue where people who are new to the game are not able to acquire these even through.
Into my first
if
house.
you're new to the game, though, you don't have the resources for a house.
No,
anyway,
you
then.
don't. Absolutely not.
So what's the point? What's
you
the
pull
problem?
yourself up by the bootstraps and you buy yourself a house.
So here's the
like
thing.
I did.
This whole thing really came into head when 2 players with multiple accounts stepped up to buying 28 homes in each now land-stripped neighborhoods, like in this online game. Like
they bought 28
the shortage
houses
became
out of
very
30
real.
in one neighborhood.
Yeah. And this broke
And they did it through multiple accounts and multiple characters?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
how many characters can you have per account?
I think it's like 14 or something.
That's a lot.
What?
That's
And
the
there
number
was-
of the game.
Dude.
Whoa.
But however, you have to pay more for that.
Yeah.
So if you want, you could have like however many characters on different worlds, but if you want an alt character on the same server, you have to pay more money for it.
Yeah.
Per month.
Is it
Per month.
Is it
Holy
another
shit.
just another
So-
subscription fee or is it less?
It's like a couple bucks.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what do you think?
Nickel and dime,
Is there
man.
people way to make real money off of this
Oh,
game?
we'll get into that. Don't worry.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
guild
this
miners.
this will. So the funny thing is, like, whether you were new to the game or not, at this point, the shortage was very real. Like, it didn't matter.
Also, I already talked about brothels.
The highly competitive nature of the market was impenetrable to anyone not virtually rich enough and quick enough to jump on the real estate. Like,
Don't go to sleep.
No.
a privilege
Dude,
now only
no.
meant for the overdedicated.
Listen, dude, this is Final Fantasy, dude. If you want to be rich, you can. You can just work every day really hard, and eventually you'll
Yeah,
become
You
some of
rich.
open
us-
your console command
Some
and
of
you
us
say,
were
add-
unemployed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Final Fantasy dream. Every immigrant from WoW wishes for.
So Chelsea, do you know how long it took to for your FC to acquire that plot for yourself and all the friends, or?
So I did buy a new house. So at one point, I took over that free company.
Okay.
That I had joined.
You
when
can
I
give
first
off
started.
duties, just be like, hey, you're the leader now.
Well, yeah, I became the leader.
She won the election.
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much.
All right.
It was because I played the most, and we did
Least
end up.
life, got it.
We upgraded to a mansion at one point, but money's money.
Yeah, just leave that there.
You're so arrogant.
I know, it's gonna get even better.
No, so basically, and okay, all I'm saying is there was like maybe 10 active people
Yeah.
in my free company when we bought that mansion, and it was like chump change.
So that's the thing. If you weren't involved in the community, you didn't know what this crisis was. You're just playing the game, whether it's by yourself or with a couple other people, and you don't understand what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
So like once these 2 players spoke out about how they were playing the game, people
got
really
furious.
began to frenzy, which only made the demand for homes higher.
Okay, because my first thought is, it's going to sound a bit insensitive, but, like, no offense to somebody who plays 2 hours a week versus, like, you who's playing, like, several hours a week. Like,
Several.
shouldn't you have... All right, I'm trying to be nice
well,
to
you should
lifestyle.
you should design your game to cater to every type of player.
Fair enough.
That's the thing.
Impossible, also.
It is, but that's also like if you
But
want
now I'm
incoming
thinking,
money.
is
and,
there
like,
enough people to where this is becoming a real problem?
Well, it's
There's enough people.
The problem is
wanting
like
houses?
the percentage of people who are now own property compared to the percentage that aren't is so spread out that
And
that's
this
like
is a problem in a video game,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
not in real life.
Oh, no,
It's
it is a
called-
problem in
it's
real life.
Actually happening.
It's called unequal wealth distribution.
Yeah, but in the video,
Some of us worked very hard.
they're trying to scramble. See, like
Judge Bezos didn't work hard at all.
Yeah, except in the
Are
real
there judges
in the real
this Final
world.
Fantasy, or is that an outdated reference?
Yeah, it's me.
Okay.
All right,
No,
so-
I
In,
meant like
in the real world, your macros are people with lives. They're minimum wage employees.
so. All right,
yeah,
so
real people who are afraid to die and
I
have,
had a friend who he had an alt on, so you couldn't have both you and an alt logged in at the same time because it was the same account.
Right.
However, his brother had an account, so he had an alt on that, and he would put his character on follow.
Okay.
And so he would do stuff double and make double the
We're
money.
gonna get into some good
because
tactics
he
that
just
people
had
use.
something that followed
So
him.
this part is
I actually like that.
Yeah,
I
that
used
is
to
so
make
good.
money with that boy. That's how I bought my first house. Me and shout out to No. We
So this next part is hilarious because I didn't know about this. You were aware of this before me, but there are basically YouTube channels out there.
I
that
tried
are-
to get on one of those.
Really?
Yeah.
That are, I'm not making this up, are like...
Cribs.
That
MTV
are,
Cribs?
That are Final Fantasy 14 MTV Crib style And the increasing views of these channels were like...
They were good for ideas.
FFXIV cribs.
So at one point, to make even more money, I decided, more as a bit because an FC I had left at one point, their house looked like garbage.
Yeah.
So I kept, basically you could put out these search parties, and I kept saying that I was an interior decorator, and for a small amount of money, I would craft and furnish your house. And I actually did it for a lot of friends.
Okay.
And those houses looked nice. Meanwhile, that FC, who shall remain nameless, looked like trash.
So you were the property brothers of Final Fantasy XIV.
I was trying.
I was like,
Like,
can you get a Netflix show like that? What's that, Condo?
Marie Kondo.
These
Does
channels...
this bring you joy?
These channels were blowing up, and the most watched one was led by like one of the design's biggest offenders, who went
PewDiePie.
by...
That's crazy, right?
I think it's Seraph Ultima.
Ultima.
Okay, so that's the name
Has
of
he
her...
ever played the Final Fantasy?
Yeah,
It's
exactly,
Ultima,
nerd.
right?
Sorry.
Fucking Christ.
This is the name of her in-game character, by the way. This led to quote unquote...
Is this Mario? Is this Nintendo game Mario?
It's already bad that on the Oblivion episode, I think I referred to the crabs as head crabs. Like
You also said Cyrodiil, and me and Chris flipped the fuck out.
you bunch of dorks.
Luigi. That's Marigo's brother and the super brother guys.
So this led to refugees following her in search of homes like the ones featured in her videos, which filled up like servers completely.
What do you mean?
Like-
They would change servers, I guess.
Yeah. Once she was showing off all these extravagant homes, people were like flocking to those, like...
To those homes?
Yeah.
Because they're nice servers. They got nice homes. They're nice places.
They wanted
be.
to live in those fancy, rich-ass neighborhoods.
But
Yeah, you didn't want to be in
Wait.
any with the low income
These were the
servers.
rich
Yes, slums.
Wait, the rich players were flocking.
I don't
Is that what
know.
you're saying? Like the rich players were going to the nice houses?
I think at this point it was anybody.
Oh,
because
okay.
I don't think people knew about... Until they transferred servers... Or at least
Jeez,
create a new
that kind
character
of
on the server.
impact.
Yeah, so you know this person I'm referencing. Well, you know of their channel or impact in the game.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, because I was like decorating all my friends' houses and shit like that,
Okay.
I used to watch them to try to get ideas. But I mean, it's exactly what you think it's gonna be. There's only so many set pieces, especially at the time. You know what I mean? And so...
Now, it being a service game, it obviously had many patches and content updates over time, but the bulk of this problem of where we are now in the timeline currently is between the title's first expansion, Heavensward, in 2015, and the second, called Stormblood, that Chelsie mentioned before, which was officially released in June of 2017. The disaster was gradual at first. A lot of this information, however, really began to break serious light in mid to late 2016, on through to 2017, I would say. Even prior to the Stormblood expansion, Square Enix did start offering free server transfers.
Yeah. Because that cost money.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
Do you know how
Yeah.
much it was? Or
It was, I remember thinking it was ridiculous. It was like $30 or something
holy
like
shit!
that.
Did you ever
Yeah.
do it?
No, fuck no.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Which
I already
server?
said I was unemployed and was paying $15 a month to play this game.
Right. Yeah.
Also, my house was there.
Yeah.
My houses were there.
This was like so that those who wanted to like could game in peace and find a quiet home away from all the hustle and bustle, I guess.
That was the thing. If you transferred servers, you lost your house because they couldn't guarantee that plot wasn't taken. As a matter of fact, it almost
Certainly wasn't.
Yeah.
Because
And
at
that's
this,
why they
at
had
this
so
point,
many issues with server
even
merges.
those servers with less people in them, like house scooters, like soon followed. Like everybody
well,
was
not only
pretty
that,
much.
but those smaller population houses, like it's incredibly cheap to buy a house there.
Yeah.
Because one, no one could afford to buy. They already start off cheaper, and no one's buying them, so the price just goes down, 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 down.
I get so angry.
And you just come-
This literally kept happening up until
This is
every
So
the
why-
server was
However,
full. Like everybody kept
you
flocking,
did not.
and then the server would be full,
when you
and then it would.
transfer servers, I don't believe that you got to keep all your money with you. I think there was a cap.
Really?
Yeah, you got to keep some items and some. I had a friend who
Why?
used to transfer servers and would buy things that were really cheap on one server and bring them back to sell for a very expensive price on my server.
Oh my god.
Yeah. He used real money to do that.
Well, that was the thing. Like when more and
Shout
more
out to Ryuji.
when more and more transfer players jumped
I
in
know, okay.
and they realized they could no longer purchase plots, even on those lesser populated worlds, hell broke loose because they like people were very upset about like.
So does the price of these houses go up when more people are buying them? Is that the idea?
No. So
or they're just fighting for the actual just the number of them. Like, I'm confused about what the conflict is at the moment.
It's because there's X amount of houses and double
the availability is
people.
not there because the people with. Okay,
And we will get into it, but there is actually like some big in-game incentives to owning that. So like once you did everything the game had to offer.
Only if you had a free company.
Sure, but the guilds are a big part of end games in like every.
It was very important for a free company to have a house. A personal house did not have those benefits.
No, but it's more of like
unless
you
they
can't raid
that.
by yourself in any online game. So it's like
that's not true. I did Crota by myself.
Not
all the time
high-level raids, but the old raids you could duty find them. So basically, you hop in and you wait for other.
Of course,
7 other
11 had
people.
that too, but that's not doing it alone.
There are a lot of incentives to being a part of a guild or free company.
Yeah.
And when I was raiding, most of the people I was raiding with weren't in the same free company as me.
Oh no, they don't have to be.
No.
But. So at this point, accusations broke out. Square Enix's Facebook and Twitter accounts were flooded with angry comments.
Like, we don't speak English. We speak in Japanese.
Groups on the official subreddits were crying words of being discriminated against and that they were entitled to and never even had the chance.
Can't believe there were angry people on the subreddits.
Here's the thing: I started late. And I was able to buy houses.
Yeah, but we'll get into how you were able to do that.
Did your Final Fantasy father give you $1 million loan or whatever?
It's like you are.
It was called a daddy.
You're coming from a place of privilege.
No.
She started late. Her daddy was a German real estate guy. Now she's president of the guild.
I don't get it. Why is everyone freaking out? So users at this point, they started digging into Ultima's 28 residences and discovered that the majority hold in the ward she owned was worth around 150 million gil, or better translated to us, about $400. It was like $375.
150 million gil isn't actually that much.
No, but maybe at this point in time, but still that translates to real world money.
There's no way all of those houses only cost that much.
I don't know. This is the.
I mean, if that's what that says, I'm just saying.
Why, are you trying to say that that's chump change compared to...
Are you sure it's not 150 billion?
I don't know, I collected this information. You proofread this for me!
One small is 5 mil at the time. Whatever.
Yo, whatever.
Anyway.
That's a lot of money.
It's not.
Jason can edit that together. No, but $400 in an MMO is money.
No fighting on the podcast.
Jesus.
1 meal.
5 million times 28 is 140 million.
Yeah, but not all those houses are the same price.
I know, that's what I'm saying, so...
Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
All right, so this real-world cost, by the way, came quite into play. You see high-roller users such as Ultima, and I guess Chelsie sometimes... Ultima there was a huge second offender. Remember I mentioned there were like 2. The other one's name is, I'm not going to be able to pronounce it all. Algorithm, I think.
It's called Algorithm.
Idiot.
So they were both part of a label of players who dubbed themselves Omnicrafters. So Omnicrafters, Chelsie brought this up a little bit earlier. They make and collect in-game items to trade and sell for real-world profit.
Oh, okay, of course they're out there.
Yeah, of course. It's like gold.
No, that's
Scammers.
not. Oh, okay. So when I was saying that people make real money off of it, I was talking about bots. Just like you would have in WoW of people being like, hey, give me 20 real-world dollars and I'll give you this much gil. Omnicrafters are people who can craft pretty much anything and then sell those things that are very hard to craft.
Of course,
for a lot of money.
But that's
For real world.
but that's the thing.
Okay.
If your in-game money translates to actual dollars, that's my point.
Yeah.
I should have sold my account when it was worth something.
You did. Fucking our friend Weston did, and he made some money.
I sold my Diablo 2 Paladin when they switched to ladder way back in the day for $200.
See, that's my point, though. Like, whether or not, like, the intention...
I was like 16. It was awesome.
That's pretty
They
dynamite.
were going
actually.
for like $500-$600 when I quit.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're
Yeah, we
proving my
sold
point.
we sold an Amazon for $250, and we sold like a sorceress for around $200.
Basically everything that these Omnicrafters...
And Blizzard is cool with that shit back then too.
They
were like,
encouraged it with shit
Oh
like
my
the
god,
Diablo
I would have
auction
made
house.
so much money if I didn't... If I sold before I lost my house.
So basically, all the things that they're building do make the account more valuable. It makes everything in your game more desirable.
Fuck.
So wait, did you know anybody that did this? Did you ever make money or know anyone that made money through the game? Real world money?
Speaking of Ryuji, I think at one point he debated selling his account because he could have gotten a couple $100 for it.
Okay.
And that's where I got the idea at first, and then I was like, unbelievable, but I love this game
Yo.
so much.
Yeah, think about all the Wawa you
fucked
could
up.
buy with that.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
To bring this into real world fucked up capitalism, you guys are sitting here arguing over like $200-300, and I'm like, that's chump change.
Yeah, but I mean, this is
I'll see you in 14, motherfucker.
Buy me a house.
this is multiplied by X amount of users. But so apparently, okay, so we haven't gotten really into this yet. But doing this also apparently this takes a lot of time. So when Ultima spoke out on Tumblr regarding the situation,
God, of course it was on Tumblr.
her lack of caring
Yeah,
for
where
other
else would it
players, her lack of caring for other players who maybe didn't play the game as frequently and thus had less than her suddenly became very, very apparent. The post reads, I'm going to read this verbatim. Many people feel entitled to own a house. They feel that even knowing there are only 2,160 plots, and this is soon to be 2,880 with the release of the Stormblood expansion coming soon, on any given server, they can and should be allowed to go at their own pace and have free access to any content they'd like, including housing. They want a house of their own, but they don't want to accept that lots of other people want it badly enough to work harder for it than they did.
Oh God, I'm so angry
I made a
right
profit
now.
on one of my homes.
So you can sell them, right?
Yeah.
And can you set the price, or is it like
Okay,
determined?
so you couldn't really sell it. Basically, you could say, "Hey, give me X amount of money, I'll relinquish the land," and then you could pay more money to buy that plot. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
So at one point, I had a house in an area that wasn't the best, and I wanted a house in the earthy area that was very pretty in the lavender beds. Mm-hmm. So there was someone saying like,
I'm coughing
"Hey,"
so much from laughing. So
No way I can make the jerk off symbol with my mouth.
they were like, "Hey, I'm selling a plot for $5 million," which meant they were gonna relinquish. I would give them $5 million. They'd relinquish their land, and then I'd pay another $5 million
for the plot.
for the plot, and then another like $200K to put a house on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I put one up that said, "Hey, I'm selling my plot for $10 million. Someone buy it off of me," and someone bought. I think I actually got about 12.
This is what I'm saying. Part of the problem.
So then,
And
there
then
you go.
I brought the guy whose house I was buying down to like 3.5, 4. And then
Brilliant.
because I told him I just didn't have the money.
Yeah.
And so I
Yo,
made
can you
it.
be like, yo, I'll leave my land for $5 million. They give you $5 million, then you don't leave your land.
Yes.
Oh man.
You absolutely could.
Yeah,
Nothing,
that's
because
so
it's
fun.
not
This trust
it's not
system.
something that like the game had it like
Yeah,
programmed
built into it, yeah.
You're just hoping
People
someone's
found
not an
workarounds
asshole.
to make more
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's almost like I
Can-
scammed someone for
you-
more money.
Can you hear the words coming out of your own mouth? I never want to hear you complain about being poor in real life ever again.
So needless
You
to say,
sound like fucking. You sound like a real estate mogul.
One of the other awful things I did to make money was there were people who were bad at the game, and they wanted to
Right here.
Yeah,
Also,
there-
I did also play it for the trial air period.
So they wanted end game loot, but they didn't have
Yeah, but
7.
work
I played
for it.
11. I didn't play 14.
So what you would do is it was called murking, and basically
sounds-
if your raid group was good enough to do it with one less person, you would bring that person in, have them kill themselves immediately. You'd kill the raid, and they'd give you money. And
They
I did,
would get loot from it?
yeah, and you'd let them take the loot because you already had it. What's the point? So you would literally just charge them to carry. You would carry them to
this is
the
darker than
content.
I actually thought it was
And
when I was researching.
when Heaven's Word
Boy.
first came out and those extreme trials were coming out, I did that for a little bit. We had a pretty good party going on, and we were able to. I was a pretty good healer.
Yeah, I bet. you didn't reveal this to me. So, needless to say, this post that Ultima made, this went viral. The pull yourself up by your bootstraps defense that Chelsea said earlier only fueled the fire. Commenters were also quick to point out the real life connection. Apparently, any person not rich enough to afford a house just isn't trying hard enough. Not to mention the
I'm saying.
Stop buying Starbucks.
Yeah, stop.
Buy
Topical.
avocados.
What's the Final Fantasy equivalent of the Republican Party?
not to mention the control.
Actually, funny enough, the Republican Party. huge, presence on the Final Fantasy.
Not
Yeah.
to mention the control that she appeared to want over the other homes in the same neighborhood. The stereotypical rich snob attitude was real, which only made those against her more angry, and of course her following larger, catching the attention of many of the bigger gaming websites. This is around the time like Kotaku and
That's
IGN
how I
and
heard
stuff
about it
started
because I
reporting.
obviously
I'm so tired of people
not
with
obviously,
money.
but I was on the same server, so how would I ever find out it became like this huge thing that everyone on every server knew about because of how much of an
She's saying
asshole
she was unaware of the crisis up in her tower, dude.
No,
Her
I knew
ivory
about the
tower.
crisis. I didn't know someone bought an entire fucking ward.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody recently noticed that my car hadn't been washed since the winter because I haven't been driving it.
Who can
I've been
afford to
driving
wash
my
their car?
partner's car because whatever. My car has a bad tire. I have access to a car that functions 100%. Haven't been driving my car
You
since
also had
the
access
winter.
to a bike till someone stole it.
Yeah. It got, pollen and shit on it.
Yeah.
Come, the springtime.
Yeah.
Come.
I come home one day,
trees.
there's a fucking abandoned vehicle stickered to the front of my fucking car. Just to clarify, we rent in a nicer neighborhood in this area, you know what I mean? Like, we pay pretty much your average rent,
Yeah.
but it's in a nicer neighborhood. And every single day since I went yesterday, I fucking washed my car, I cleaned everything off, I put it in the fucking driveway
Is the sticker
instead of on
still
the
on
street.
it?
No, I cleaned everything off. Somebody's parked in that spot every single fucking day where my car was since then. I'm just mad at rich people. They were just like, this car's ugly, it's dirty, let's fucking call it in, it's abandoned. It's fucking registered to somebody who lives in front of the house it's parked in front of. Just because I don't drive it doesn't mean it's a fucking abandoned, like...
Yeah, it's good. You're going to wake up with a condemned sticker on the house the next morning.
I didn't see you guys.
Yeah.
You didn't come out in that day,
So Site Kotaku, where I got much of the information on these Omni crafters from, even went to meet Ultima and Algorithm in-game while putting together an article. They both not only answered questions around the controversy, but even gave writer Cecilia De Anastasio? Anastasio? Sorry, she's been referenced before, but I just didn't want to butcher her name.
Italian fucking last name.
They gave her a full tour
nobody
of
hears one of
their digital homes. When asked about the team playing other games, Ultima replied, "Not really." Algorithm even wanted to say that much of her 1,000+ hours of play was a direct response of meeting Ultima a few months after her husband died. The pair then continued to state that what they were doing was totally fair, especially since the plots were originally empty for years, and then also publicly here in the interview blamed Square Enix for not being accommodating enough to the rest of the fan base that wanted houses.
Yeah, why didn't Square just make more houses?
Which, here's
They
the thing
did.
though, this was a problem that they were directly profiting off of, whether it be via YouTube videos or sales otherwise.
Who, Square?
No, these two players. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
like, even though they're saying, hey, Square's not adding enough homes, they're the ones that are
Making money
with their monetized YouTube channel.
Yeah, they're shitty. I'm not denying that.
Even if the notion of many of the
Right.
player,
I'm
even
not talking a lot on this podcast because I'm so angry. This has so many parallels to the real world.
I know.
It's like, I'm rich because the government's fucking up. I'm going to keep doing it. But I'm rich because the government keeps fucking up.
exactly. Yeah, I am gonna leave it at this though. That
I
like,
wasn't that bad.
I know.
they did say that many of the places they built together were precious, like memories, which is kind of annoying.
I used
Yeah.
my
They had
like,
They
some,
had
like, attachment
28
to it.
precious memories. Fuck off.
I used to help my friends buy houses.
Yeah,
and
we
shit
all
like
had
that.
precious memories
And-
until capitalists destroyed the planet where we lived on and had those precious
And the
memories.
houses that I decorated
This is
that
for
I
people
was
finding the
not,
podcast
that I
later.
did not own, I used my own money to decorate those houses, and they weren't mine.
I think
just
at this
wanted to
point
help
we
people.
can acknowledge that even if you're a part of the problem, you are a much smaller part of the problem than some of
Thank
the people
you.
we are referencing.
Austin, you could stop stabbing me under the table.
Still part of the
So
problem.
so the question really, to sum up this whole thing, to quote Cecilia here, was: are players entitled to property in Final Fantasy XIV any more than they're entitled to rating mounts or veteran rewards? Is the richer players or the ones with more free time to grind out crafting XP, are they more entitled to take up space? When she asked this to Ultima, her answer was, not everyone needs everything in game, basically meaning that they weren't going to give up anything. And besides, why would they? More cramped apartments were already set to be added soon for even more people to try and take advantage of in the...
Forgot about apartments.
Yeah, with the implemented roommate system, which you referenced...
Are you fucking joking?
So
I'm so mad.
Coming soon,
you
the
mentioned-
slums.
Yeah, that's
Can you- so
literally
Chelsea,
what it
can you-
was.
Coming
you
soon,
explain-
Final Fantasy hostels.
Yeah, can you explain the apartment to the roommate system? What
Okay, so
exactly did
apartments
this
are
do?
different. Apartments, basically, they put up an ugly slum building in each one of these areas, and they had so many rooms, and it was so instanced that they could add, hundreds of them. They were very cheap. Pretty much everyone could have one. Now, there was also personal rooms. Personal rooms were put inside FC houses, which was pretty much the same thing. For like 100,000 gil, you could buy a personal room, and then you have your own little room inside this house.
Your own little box, dude, all yourself.
Yeah, it wasn't
Did you
very
post
large.
it on Final Fantasy Craigslist? God, I'm so mad.
Okay, and then the roommate system was basically if you owned a house, you could let your friend be a co-owner, and you could give them different permissions from anywhere from you could just teleport to my house to you could relinquish this fucking land out from under me if you wanted to. So they could be like full owners. So that gave, I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 people a house, and that gave, you know, you could share now.
Something tells me these users specifically were not using the roommate system.
I mean, they probably were between their ults.
You could become a you could become a landlord.
So, well, no, okay, so that's what at one point, months ago, Randall brought this topic up, and then I realized I was part of the problem when, after he brought it up, I was walking my dog, and I live in a...
It was a very sudden realization.
I was walking my dog, and I saw a for rent sign, and I was like, when they added the roommate system, I should have just rented out my house, where I would have been like, give me $1 million a week, and you could pretend that you own this house from me, bitch. And I didn't do that, but I was like, man, that would have been a good way to make money. And then I was like, oh, I'm an awful person.
So here's the thing, though. On its face, the desire of home ownership still feels relatively arbitrary, but...
You can't own land.
You can, and I did.
But, like I mentioned earlier, there were certain benefits to having access to these properties. So, Chelsie...
I always forget. I've made that reference quite a bit. I'm sorry.
No, you're
But
good.
that's from Futurama, where there's like a
which
hippie
one?
going like, you can't own land, man. And then Farmer's like, that's just because you're poor, you hippie. Like something like that to him. Like,
It sounded like you had quite the system laid out for you and those in your FC.
So yeah, so basically, if you had a free company house, you had an airship room. You could send airships out on expeditions to get very rare items to craft things. They really had no value in actual game, except vanity.
what, the crafting items or the houses?
The crafting items.
So when more and more
So-
people started hitting the end game, that
So,
was...
like, okay, at one
yeah.
point,
Yeah,
they
vanity's
added...
the end game.
And
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah.
because it's easier
I
to
said
make
it
a fucking dress than it is to make an
More
an
missions,
engaging mission. Yeah.
So basically,
Because God forbid the end game be an actual game.
it was called a workshop.
Okay.
And at one point, they added different skins for your house, which were like Moogle themed, and they added a bunch more. I think there was a Chocobo one, and I don't know, something else. I stopped playing a little after this.
That's sick. How many dungeons do they put out before that?
Not a lot. So those items to make the Moogle house, you had to send out airships. And those airships were very hard to make. They took a lot of time. That's what Randall's talking about with my spreadsheets. It took hours and hours and hours.
It was all clicks and buzzes
help.
to
It
me.
wasn't just me doing it myself, but I did a lot of it, and it took forever. But those items being so rare, you could sell them for a lot of money. That's how we got our mansion, actually. It was me selling the extra shit we got from our airships that none of us needed, because, like I said, it was a very, very small FC. It was only like 8 of us. So if there's this rare thing, like sometimes you'd get like these
How
little...
big can FCs get?
I don't know, a couple hundred maybe.
Oh, jeez.
I think like 200 was max.
Okay.
But basically, like, if it did bring a vanity item, I'd be like, hey, everyone, got this. Who wants it? And if no one wanted it, I'd sell it. And then I'd put it in the FC chest, and that's how we bought our mansion. I should also point out that when we did buy our mansion, I switched the FC over to an alt so we could keep our house. So we, at one point, had 2 FC houses. Well, it was sentimental.
Precious
Sure.
memories, if you will.
Yeah, we built
right.
memories in it. And what's funny is I gutted that house for the most part too, so it didn't even look nice in there. I took all the furniture I wanted and brought it over to the fucking mansion, so it looked like trash. But we kept it.
That would have been somebody who needed it used it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I have 28 houses though.
I'm gonna talk over you now.
Okay.
So some time
You guys
ago-
haven't talked about the fracking update. Do you remember that one?
So some time goes by. Forums about the issue in the game are still light. Representatives from Square Enix only choose to speak out periodically in the coming months, just saying that the crisis will be resolved once the new homes get added in the 4.1 update.
Guys, Final Fantasy VII Remaster is coming. No, that's not what we said. Guys, we promised Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be great.
So we're going to rewind a little bit, and we'll get there in our story. But Chelsie, at this point, were you out of the game? Can you explain what happens to your land after a long enough time goes by without logging in to keep an eye over your hard-earned assets?
Yeah, if you don't log in within 30 days, they relinquish your land. And then I think it's another 30 days after that, you lose all the stuff inside of it. So that's kind of what broke me. Because most of my house were seasonal items that you could only get that way or to pay real money for.
So why do you think Square Enix was continuously letting it going? Because it's like you have to keep logging in and paying the subscription to continue to have your product.
So what happened was I didn't log in for 30 days. This was right around the Fan Fest where they announced Heavensward. Not Heavensward, Stormblood.
Okay.
Because I played through Heavensward. I didn't log in for 30 days. They relinquished my land for my personal house. The FC houses got passed to somebody else, luckily. But I lost my personal, and I was like, well, that sucks, but at least I still have all my stuff. I could always buy another personal house. And then I logged in.
Your money stays with you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still had everything. I logged in more than 30 days after that and found out that all of the items inside the house were also gone forever.
Oh,
I thought because they tell you that, like, it goes to someone, like an NPC, and you could talk to that person and get your shit back. They don't tell you that's limited. So I had gone so long without logging in that literally everything to do with my house was gone forever.
Shit got repoed.
It really
precious
did.
wealth got redistributed.
No, it didn't. It just went into it was just gone forever. It's not like other people got
It's just
it.
because it's code.
All right, so October update rolls around.
I'm still sour.
It goes live at 6 a.m. Pacific after apparently a hefty size download, and people got stuck in login queues. The 720.
Is this the first add-on?
This is the second one because that's.
We didn't get to talk about my experience.
No,
with the
don't
first
worry.
one.
I'm going to bring it up because that's what makes the second one so much funnier. That they thought that this would solve the problem. The 720 newly added homes, or 3 whole areas on each server, which were not enough, by the way, got snatched up within minutes. Hell, before most users even made it into the game, those that didn't leave empty-handed managed to do so by staking a claim through the passed-around tip of setting your character to busy so other people couldn't attempt to interrupt the purchase by opening a trade window. I don't know if I grabbed that last part directly from the article, and I wasn't sure precisely how that technique worked. Chelsie, do you know anyone that did this? Or
No, so when they added new words the first time, or like that big update, that's when we got our mansion.
Yeah.
For months, or not months, but the second we found out they were adding new wards, what I did was I went around and I took screenshots of different houses, and me and my FC voted on what plot we wanted. And then I went in and literally every house was taken. It was a shit show. We ended up still getting a mansion, but we got it in an area that we didn't want. But it was what it was. Like, we'll take anything over nothing. Stop shaking your head at me. I'm getting angry. But it was like,
you can get it in a nice neighborhood.
I didn't sleep that night because I had to be, I had a very slow connection. So I had to make sure that my update was ready by the time the servers went back on. I couldn't be late. And so I stayed up all night, made sure that my download was ready, and the second those servers went on, I just slammed. I slammed in, and I ran as fast. I logged out by the thing to buy the houses.
So this update she's talking about, 4.1, before this, there were 3 housing areas with 12 wards and 60 plots each, which totaled in 2,160 overall.
Well, just to clarify, because people will be angry, a ward had 30, but each ward had a subdivision that was basically a mirror of it, which was another 30.
That's what you tried to explain to me.
Call it one in this article. They called it one ward with 60 houses.
Gotcha.
Okay, even though it was just a.
It was just a mirror. Yeah. It's
the same houses.
When this update goes live, there were 2,880 homes. These
brand new,
all gone again. Some even wrote scripts
within seconds.
Click buy as quick as they were available, like as fast as possible. This was all exacerbated by the accounts of players
I'm
who
sitting here
like
at
to
night,
hoard.
like watching TV at my house, like what could I be doing right now? That's what I could be doing.
I couldn't find my spreadsheet.
Who like to hoard the housing or FCs in an attempt to buy whole plots in mass. I don't really know what they thought why this would even work, because this was very reminiscent of a previous housing frenzy that occurred in May a year prior with patch 3.3 that Chelsie was talking about during the reign of the Heaven's Ward expansion. But the funny thing is, at this point, when they expanded the ward size to 12, this update, by the way, only added 240 homes.
Versus the 2,000.
Versus the 720 in the second update.
Oh,
so they tried this before, and the only difference this time around is that there were 3 times the slots, but the player increase in the
Still
game...
14 million players!
kept growing, so like...
Unless you're doing
all on one, that's 700.
I know what you mean.
So this
but
initial
it's still-
clusterfuck was like, there's no way in hell that they thought that this update would work. Like, it clearly shit the bed when you were playing, and they thought that a year later that it would just be like, well, just add more houses, but not nearly as much as they needed.
No, because then you build more houses, and then
We don't want-
you
it's
give
like the
loans
Nintendo
to
thing.
people that can't afford them, and then they default on those loans, and then the housing market collapses, and you have to bail out Lehman Brothers. You saw The Big Short. You know what happens.
So it's like, at this point, it was 2 updates in a row. They were like, we'll solve the problem. We'll solve the problem. We'll solve the problem. And the ending result is like, we don't want everyone who wants one to have one. Like, that was the problem. Like, and it happened
Well, that's why
twice.
they added
That's how
personal
you
rooms,
make
and that's
things
why they
rare.
added the slums. I'm sorry, the apartments.
That's how you make things rare. You control the supply of
Artificial
them.
demand.
To be fair,
not
even
a-
though
Diamonds! Diamonds!
so the apartments were pretty much infinite, so I don't feel bad about this. But I bought one
You
of those
shouldn't feel
too.
bad about sticking people in apartments.
Also, those never got relinquished. I still have my apartment.
Really? Can they not get relinquished if
I
you...
don't. I think it's infinite. Like
Okay.
I don't think there's a cap, so I think it's just
Do you
like
just
they
stack
don't-
them on
It's
top of
just-
each other?
that's
It's
what
like
rich people-
Judge
No, you
Dredd.
can only have one.
That's what rich people real life think about apartments. They're just infinite, right?
Yeah.
Just stack them.
You don't run out of Earth.
Why don't all those homeless people just move into an apartment?
I don't remember exactly what the cap is, but there was like more apartments than there were players.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really
So
that big of a deal.
that update was the one that added around 2,100 homes, and then this update added around 2,900 and
Altogether.
and neither one of these were enough at all.
Is it 2,900 per server? Or per world, I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So with this news out, Stormblood's...
No, altogether.
That's what I thought at first, and I was like, that is not enough.
No. Stormblood's excellent reception and well-received patch was soured once again by this whole experience. Angry players begin to finally give up and post that they are ditching the game outright. So this max exodus finally started to happen.
This exodus is from probably mid-level players, like people
Probably,
who play enough to understand the importance of having one of
Because
these
a new
houses.
player wouldn't know...
Yeah, a new player wouldn't have any fucking say in it. And so these are people that play enough to like actually
Who have
acquire
been
these
paying
things.
monthly subscriptions,
Who've been paying monthly subscriptions. It's probably somebody who plays like a game
Could've been for
like
years,
you know,
casually.
like among my immediate friend group.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm like pretty decent in Overwatch. I have a several hundred level account, but like among the people I play with, I'm like a chum.
Yeah.
Like I think it's that kind of
That's
comparison.
where a
Like,
lot of us lie in a lot of the online games. So yeah, you
yeah,
are in
exactly.
the
You play
majority.
in that level. That's just the only thing I have
I knew a
compares
girl
level
whose
wise.
goal,
Yeah.
all she did was craft and sell stuff, and her goal was to have 1 billion gil. That's when she was going to quit. And then she ended up quitting before that
What are
and
the
just
maxes?
gave all of her friends like
Everything?
millions of
So
gil.
people at this point,
Oh hell yeah!
like
Absolutely.
people
that's
are
what you
leaving the
do.
game. They
It's called a will.
That's what
Last
I
will and
did.
testament.
I gave all my money over. I gave Austin some, and then I just dumped the rest of my
Yeah, and I
FC
spent
chest.
none
So
of it.
people,
And then quit.
so at this point, people are
Yeah.
walking away from the game. They're putting it down. They stop paying monthly subscriptions.
I like that. 'Cause
Then
yeah.
this.
I just couldn't afford it.
This caught wind of some moderators who passed the word along to those higher up at the top, and at this point, something had to be done.
This is like when you go to buy tickets to a band, like a concert for a band, and the bots get them all, and you're just like, I don't even like the band.
Yeah,
I hate
what
to,
happens to free shows?
Yeah,
That's the
I know.
worst part.
Well,
Yeah.
I hate to bring it up again because I already mentioned fucking stupid ass Avengers a couple times.
Right.
Me and Phil were gonna go see it in the theater.
Oh god, don't even get me
Oh, yeah,
started
that
on
was
Like a week or two
tickets
ago,
for Endgame.
I literally opened up the AMC app thing,
Yeah.
and in the process of reading show times, every theater area went
out.
sold out. Like that quick. Like I was literally reading through the showtimes, and when I refreshed, I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
We're inside because they're all
And then a middle
like in
finger
a
emoji and a picture of an ass
virtual
came up, and then it was over. So Yoshi, the game's producer that we've been talking about, he made an official statement apologizing for failing to provide sufficient plots as well as the server stress and ensuing land rush that
But the truth
led to
is,
the
I
queues.
really don't care. Please don't leave because our profit margins will hurt.
It was announced here that new plans would be underway to strengthen the game servers, and they would also change the way that wards were sold to finally end the crisis.
So, is every plot unique?
No, so each ward is out of the 4 areas. If there's 12 wards in that area, everyone is exactly the same.
Oh, okay.
It's just
So-
the
so-
areas is what makes the difference in the.
So
okay.
plot 1 in the lavender beds in Ward 1 is the same in Ward 2, in 3, in
It's,
4, in
And
5.
some servers are more desirable than others.
It's just
And I
the way
imagine
you
some
decorate your
areas-
house.
Yeah, and people want to play with their friends too.
Yeah.
Now, this next part is something we may actually never get the answer to, unfortunately. And while we don't report on rumors as facts here on Hot Button,
We kind of do.
I just thought that this one was,
There was a
too
time, yeah.
much fun to ignore, and there are many who still believe to this day that they couldn't have made this upcoming change without a little help. Japanese game companies are notorious for keeping to themselves, although some allegedly leaked quote-unquote emails showed that those frantically working to fix the title's housing disaster were frequently reaching out to competitors for advice on how to resolve everything quickly before more frustrated players left, while at the same time not pissing off their already dedicated base of mansion owners. Among those that were said to have been contacted were employees of not only Second Life, but EVE Online, both titles of which are known to have used actual economists regularly to keep their in-game universes in balance.
Yeah, I was gonna say EVE Online is like.
And one
I've
day
read
we
a
will
dozen and a half
do
articles
that EVE episode, mark my
about
words. Yeah, we will get there.
Yeah, EVE
Yeah, that
Online
was just
has
last
that.
year, that $25,000 battle or whatever.
Yeah,
happened.
it's
EVE
Yeah.
Online has like
Great.
a world-renowned economist on staff
Yeah.
to fix that game's economy.
So-
What a
constantly.
great hobby.
Yeah.
That is actually really fucking cool. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, like, if we could have it my way, we'd all be doing whatever we want,
Yeah.
we want. Like, it'd be like a total weird, like, anarchist, communistic community. But it's not the world we live
this-
in. I love the idea that there's an economist who gets paid
it's
to manage
brilliant.
Eve's
So this
empire.
this whole
Yeah.
story has been going on for years, and this patch that I'm going to talk about now, this is in January of 2018. This is patch 4.2. So what they with patch 4.2, they added 1,440 new plots
Jesus.
across
That'll
6
help.
new
That's
districts
half
in the
as
game's
much as the last time.
yeah, in the game's now 4 housing regions. With this also comes a post with a new set of rules for purchasing land that I will now read. 1. Players may now only own 1 private and 1 free company estate per world on any given service amount.
So what that
So
basically
no-
what I'm saying is no alts.
No,
No
alts.
alts.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
matter how many alts you have, you can't buy an alt.
And you would have to buy
server,
a
yeah.
new. You would have to pay another subscription to get another house.
Different IP address, all that shit.
I don't think
No,
that.
I don't think I
No,
was
so another,
you have to buy
another
something.
$15
Okay,
a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you pay more, fuck it, exploit the system.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Number
pretty
2,
much.
a free
Still not a solution. Still not a solution.
Number 2, a free company may only purchase land if it has 4 or more members, which is not that much of an increase, I guess, from the...
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was what it was before, but I guess what they're saying is people used to build the FC and then everyone would dick out and it would just be the
Yeah.
one person buying the land.
That
Now
has
you
to be
actually have to,
active
Yeah.
you
members.
actually have the people.
Which,
not active,
which,
but
which will
yeah.
bring us to our third point, that 3, plots that become empty for any reason will be temporarily unavailable for purchase. So it's
So you couldn't
no more
sell your
hoarding
plots like
and
I
no
did.
more, yeah.
Basically, they're saying that you can't relinquish land for money.
So there's no reason to sell anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or there's no profit in selling, so there's no reason to buy a bunch.
yeah.
They also went on to say that once these limits were reached, you can no longer buy any more plots. Players who violated these new rules prior to the patch will not be affected with their already bought homes. Like, their homes will not be lost. Relocations are still permitted with the server transfer, but the
They
servers
can still make their nut.
But
They
but
can
come
still sell
around
it all off.
4.2, the one thing I'll say is their servers did not crash this time, and more importantly, this massive fix kind of worked for those that qualified. Of course, not everyone was happy, but then again, who is?
Amen.
Well, that's until the next Final Fantasy government repeals all those laws.
So Chelsea, you ready to go back?
I mean, it's very nostalgic, and I kind of want to be like, I bet I could go in there and buy a fucking house. Fuck you guys, I'll buy myself a new mansion, and it'll be even better than the first one. But I also don't want to pay that kind of money every month for a game that means nothing in real life.
She got out, dude. It's just like a
I
hitman,
got
a drug
suckered.
dealer.
It's to those of my friends who are listening. I got suckered into buying into WoW Classic when that comes out.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Dude, you can't
Yeah,
have
I
property
mean-
in WoW.
You know what I'm
right?
nostalgic for? Star Foz. You guys ever play that game? That's a classic.
But that is the end of our story. You know, the game is still what it is, but as far as this housing crisis go, it kind of petered out just a little bit.
Is there an
I don't know
expansion
if
coming
it's-
out this year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just said
They do,
Dark
yeah.
Angels
which
boys.
I
Chris Angel.
You said a different thing. The
which
first time.
I assume that expansion will probably also add more.
Yeah,
Here's
probably.
the thing.
Just
At one
about
point,
all.
I was gonna buy Stormblood because I was like, it's been out for over a year. It's
Yeah.
got to be cheap now. If it's like $15, I'll buy it. It was still like $30, $40.
Yeah, why
and I
would
was
they?
like, go fuck yourself. I'm not gonna play this game. Plus, they ruined every class, from what I understand. I went back at one point and I was like, what the fuck is all this shit? I don't know what this means. What did you do to my classes?
So this is not completely unrelated, but MMO related. But did you see the thing I posted in our Discord?
No, what was it?
So WoW Classic is coming out.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious because they are going back to not vanilla WoW exactly, but I think it's like patch 1.12 or something. It's like the first patch that made the game like work
So they
after
just
like all the
got
servers
rid of
broke.
bugs, right?
But they have people currently testing it in beta right now.
Yeah.
And part of being in a beta is there are forums that you only people in the beta can access, and you can report bugs so Blizzard can fix them before launch. People are reporting bugs that were in the original game. Because the thing is, they're testing WoW Classic, so some bugs have to be in it because some of the
That's
bugs
WoW
are part
Classic.
of the experience.
Yeah.
And people are like, I don't remember it being this way in the old one. You need to fix this.
Rose-colored glasses,
Blizzard
dude.
had to release a list of known bugs that they need in the game to make it the
that's
same
so
experience.
funny.
That's funny.
So people stop reporting the same bugs that need to be in the game because it's WoW Classic.
And then eventually it's just going to snake eating its own tail, evolve right back into what it is.
Yep.
But that's pretty good.
2, but it's not 2. It's the same one again.
Yep.
But that is it for today. Chelsea, thank you so much for basically...
thanks to the mogul for joining
Well,
us.
no, fuck you for that, but thank you for making
I
this
don't
story
have
possible
any
for us to
plugs.
cover.
I just want to do shout outs.
Okay.
The Fee, Poo Poo, these are real names.
Ultima, I believe you. I know that.
Taily, Bunny, Jin, Shiny,
I know Jin.
Stummy.
If these people don't download, it's not worth it. I'm all about those.
It's all the
downloads,
1%er she's thanking, dude.
Downloads. Get your 1%ers out there. Promote this podcast.
They were all 1%ers.
Also, you want to...
Especially not Tay.
You want to...
Got 'em.
Do the
Do
plugs?
do your thing.
Okay. So thanks for listening.
Fuck you, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Sorry, maybe that'll get us some listens.
Oh, right, Uji.
This podcast is great
Another
for
shout out.
listening to
Good
in your
group,
headphones
yeah.
while you perform your
Talk to
minimum
them.
wage job for people that have way more money than you will ever see in your
Like,
lifetime.
I work a minimum wage job.
I know.
But in the game.
But
But in the game, I was a queen.
either way, thanks for listening. You can find more episodes on our website, hotbuttoncast.com. That'll link you to our iTunes, our Spotify, Google Play. Our YouTube channel has all our episodes now.
Website. Yeah.
We have a video version of our live episodes. You should go check that out. Also, you can follow us.
Surprisingly funny. I actually watched that.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised how funny.
I saw it live. I'm not gonna watch it.
You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at HotButtonCast.
Final Fantasy XIV.
I do have a plug actually. It's Hot Button Podcast Sucks 69XXX.
420.
420 on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn,
Roblox.
Vine.
Roblox.
You can find me on. You can find me
Vine.
on Kick. No, I'm just kidding.
Napster.
Pornhub.
No,
I think those are all the plugs. Subscribe to us on YouTube so I can change the URL. I gotta keep that bit going. Because YouTube
also,
sucks.
if you watch Overwatch porn on YouTube, I made a lot of those, so I get residuals.
Yo, did
Yeah.
you make any of Diva in that schoolgirl outfit
No,
yet? 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
it's
trying
new.
to-
mostly,
brand new, dude.
mostly Widowmaker, because skin tone's
Oh,
harder to
come
draw
on.
than purple.
Oh, well. But no, that was a fun nightmare. Thank you all.
Yep. Thanks.
So, yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Peace out.
Where's the music?